At my niece's birthday party, my sister smirked and declared, "You're just the pathetic one we keep around for money." Everyone laughed. So I got up, walked away, and left them with an unpaid $3,800 tab that ruined the whole night. I, 35M, never thought a 7-year-old's birthday party would be the moment everything finally made sense. The restaurant was one of those upscale places where the appetizers cost more than most people's dinner. My sister had insisted on celebrating her daughter's birthday there, sending me the location with her usual expectation that I'd cover the bill. After 15 years of being the family ATM, it had become routine. I arrived early, watching as the hostess led me to a private dining room she'd reserved. The decorations were already set up: pink balloons, expensive party favors, and a custom cake that probably cost $300. My niece ran up to me the moment I walked in, hugging my legs with genuine excitement. At least someone was happy to see me. The rest of the family trickled in over the next hour. My parents, my sister and her husband, a handful of cousins, and some family friends. 23 people total, all settling into their seats with the comfortable assumption that Uncle Pathetic would handle everything. My sister barely acknowledged me beyond a quick nod. She was too busy playing the perfect hostess, making sure everyone saw how well she'd organized this elaborate celebration. Her husband chatted loudly about his latest promotion while she posted photos to social media, already crafting the narrative of what an amazing mother she was. The ordering began, and I watched the numbers climb in my head. Steaks, lobster, multiple bottles of wine, premium cocktails. The adults were ordering like they were dining on someone else's dime, which technically they were. The kids got the expensive kids' menu items, and everyone ordered appetizers and desserts. This wasn't new. For the past decade and a half, I'd been funding family gatherings, emergencies, and lifestyle choices. When my sister wanted to quit her job to be a stay-at-home mom, I helped with their mortgage. When my parents needed a new roof, I wrote the check. When anyone needed anything, they called me. It started when my tech startup got acquired. Suddenly, I had money, and suddenly, I had a very attentive family. Before that, I'd been the weird kid who spent too much time with computers. After the acquisition, I became their favorite son, brother, and uncle. But tonight felt different. Maybe it was the way my sister kept checking her phone instead of paying attention to her daughter. Maybe it was how my parents spent more time talking to the other adults than engaging with their granddaughter. Or maybe it was the casual way everyone had ordered the most expensive items without even glancing at prices. The conversation flowed around me, as it always did. Work gossip, neighborhood drama, vacation plans that would probably require my financial assistance. I found myself observing rather than participating, noticing things I'd ignored before. My sister's husband mentioned their upcoming kitchen renovation, glancing at me meaningfully. My parents talked about wanting to take a European cruise for their anniversary. My cousin brought up her daughter's college tuition. The requests were never direct, but the implications were clear. Dinner progressed, and the alcohol flowed freely. The adults got louder, the jokes got cruder, and the attention on the birthday girl diminished. She sat beside me, occasionally tugging on my sleeve to show me something or ask a question that the adults ignored. That's when the conversation shifted to family dynamics. Someone mentioned how lucky they all were to have such a generous family member. Someone else joked about having their own personal ATM. The comments got bolder as the wine kept flowing. My sister, emboldened by the audience and the alcohol, decided to elaborate on the family's inside joke. She looked directly at me with that smirk I'd seen countless times before, the one that appeared whenever she was about to say something cutting disguised as humor. She announced to the table that I was just the pathetic one they kept around for money. The words hit the room like a punchline everyone had been waiting for. The laughter was immediate and loud, filling the private dining room with the sound of my family's genuine amusement. My parents chuckled. My cousins laughed. The family friends joined in, probably not even understanding the context, but following the social cues. Even my brother-in-law raised his glass in mock salute to their personal bank. I sat there for a moment, watching their faces. These were people I'd supported through job losses, medical bills, home repairs, and countless other crises. People whose children I'd helped put through college, whose vacations I'd funded, whose problems I'd solved with my checkbook. The birthday girl looked up at me with confusion, not understanding why everyone was laughing or why Uncle looked so serious. That innocent expression was what finally clicked everything into place. I stood up slowly, feeling 23 pairs of eyes follow my movement. My sister's smirk faltered slightly as she registered my expression. The laughter died down as people sensed a shift in the atmosphere. I reached into my wallet and pulled out $200 bills, placing them on the table in front of my niece. I told her this was her birthday money, and she should save it for something special. Then I looked at my sister and told her it was time she learned to pay for her own parties. The walk to the door felt eternal. Behind me, I could hear my sister's voice rising as she realized what was happening. She called after me, her tone shifting from confusion to panic to anger. She demanded I come back and stop being ridiculous. I didn't turn around. I walked through the main dining room, past the hostess station, and out into the cool evening air. My phone started buzzing before I reached my car. The texts and calls came in waves. First from my sister, then my parents, then others who'd been at the party. The messages ranged from angry demands to guilt-laden pleas to confused questions about what had just happened. I drove home in silence, my phone continuing to buzz on the passenger seat. For the first time in years, I felt something I'd almost forgotten: relief. The weight of their expectations, their assumptions, their casual cruelty had lifted. Update 1. The next morning brought a flood of voicemails and text messages. My sister had left multiple increasingly frantic messages as the restaurant's bill came due. Apparently, the total had reached $3,800, and none of the other adults had expected to pay their share. My parents called to tell me how disappointed they were in my behavior. They couldn't understand how I could embarrass the family like that, especially at a child's birthday party. They suggested I was overreacting to what was obviously just harmless family teasing. My brother-in-law sent a text demanding I fix the situation immediately. He called my behavior childish and mentioned that my sister had cried all night. Several cousins reached out with varying degrees of guilt and anger, some taking sides, others trying to play peacemaker. But the most revealing message came from my niece's other grandmother, my sister's mother-in-law. She sent a simple text thanking me for the birthday money and mentioning that she'd covered the bill because she couldn't stand watching the restaurant staff deal with the chaos. She also mentioned something that hit me hard. My niece had asked her why everyone was so mean to Uncle and why Uncle looked so sad at her party. I spent the morning reading through 15 years of similar messages, patterns I'd never noticed before. Every crisis that required my financial intervention. Every family gathering where I was expected to pay. Every joke made at my expense while my wallet was being drained. The afternoon brought attempted visits. My parents showed up first, using their key to let themselves in. They wanted to discuss my tantrum and figure out how to move past this misunderstanding. They seemed genuinely confused by my anger, as if the concept that their words had consequences was foreign to them. I told them to leave and asked for my key back. The conversation that followed was illuminating. They accused me of holding money over their heads, of being manipulative, of forgetting that family comes first. When I pointed out that I'd been putting family first for 15 years while they put my money first, they couldn't seem to grasp the distinction. My sister arrived that evening with her daughter in tow. She'd clearly coached the child to ask Uncle why he was mad at Mommy, which was perhaps the most manipulative thing she'd done yet. I knelt down and told my niece that Uncle wasn't mad at her, and that her birthday money was safely in her piggy bank. The conversation with my sister was brutal. Without an audience to perform for, her mask came off completely. She accused me of ruining her daughter's birthday, of being selfish, of not understanding what family meant. She demanded I pay the restaurant bill and apologize to everyone. When I refused, she threatened to cut off my access to my niece. The irony wasn't lost on me. She was threatening to withhold the one family relationship that actually brought me joy unless I continued funding her lifestyle. Update 2. 2 weeks passed before I heard from anyone again. The silence was telling, without money changing hands. Apparently there wasn't much for us to talk about. The first crack in their united front came from my cousin, who reached out privately. She apologized for laughing that night and admitted she'd always felt uncomfortable with how the family treated me. She mentioned that she'd been thinking about all the times she'd asked for financial help over the years and realized she'd never actually thanked me properly. My niece's other grandmother reached out again, this time with a proposal. She asked if I'd be interested in taking my niece out for regular uncle-niece dates, away from the family drama. She'd noticed how much my niece had enjoyed our conversations at the party and thought we should maintain that relationship separately. The idea appealed to me. My niece was the only family member who'd never seen me as a wallet with legs. Our relationship was genuine, built on shared interests and mutual affection rather than financial obligation. My parents made another attempt at reconciliation, this time through a carefully worded letter. They acknowledged that the joke had been inappropriate, but maintained that my reaction was disproportionate. They suggested family therapy to work through our communication issues. The letter revealed their fundamental misunderstanding of the situation. They saw this as a single incident rather than the culmination of years of exploitation. They wanted to address my sensitivity rather than their behavior. My sister's approach was more direct. She showed up at my office, demanding a conversation. Security called me before letting her up, and I almost refused the meeting. But curiosity got the better of me. She prepared what felt like a rehearsed speech about family loyalty and forgiveness. She acknowledged that the joke had hurt my feelings, but insisted it was meant affectionately. She painted herself as the victim, struggling financially while trying to raise her daughter and maintain family relationships. The conversation revealed the depth of her entitlement. She genuinely believed that my money was family money, that my success obligated me to support their choices. She couldn't understand why I would prioritize my own feelings over family harmony. When I asked her to explain what I'd gained from our relationship over the past 15 years, she couldn't answer. When I asked her to name a single time she'd offered support without being asked, she got angry and accused me of keeping score. Update 3. 3 months have passed since the birthday party incident. The changes in my life have been more profound than I expected. My relationship with my niece has actually strengthened. Her paternal grandmother facilitates regular outings where we can spend time together without family interference. My niece seems happier during these visits, more relaxed and genuine without the family dynamics at play. During our last outing, she asked me why Mommy and Grandma always seemed angry when talking about Uncle. The question broke my heart, but it also confirmed that I'd made the right choice. She was already learning to associate family relationships with tension and conflict. My parents have made several more attempts at reconciliation, each one revealing their inability to understand the actual problem. They've offered compromises like family loans instead of gifts and more structured family financial planning, completely missing that the issue isn't the money. It's the relationship built entirely on financial exploitation. My sister's attempts at manipulation have escalated. She's sent photos of bills she can't pay, updates about opportunities her daughter is missing due to financial constraints, and guilt-inducing messages about family members who ask where I am during gatherings. The most revealing development has been watching how the extended family has reacted. Some cousins have reached out with genuine apologies and acknowledgments of their past behavior. Others have doubled down, angry that their financial safety net has disappeared. But the most interesting response came from my sister's husband. He sent a long email explaining that he'd never been comfortable with their financial dependence on me, but hadn't spoken up because it benefited their family. He apologized for his part in the dynamic and mentioned that the birthday party incident had forced some difficult conversations in their household. He also revealed something I hadn't known. My sister had been promising people that I'd cover various expenses for months in advance, essentially spending my money before asking for it. The birthday party wasn't an isolated incident of taking my generosity for granted. It was part of a pattern of assumption and entitlement I hadn't fully recognized. I've started seeing a therapist to work through 15 years of financial codependency and emotional manipulation. The sessions have been enlightening, helping me understand how my desire to help family gradually transformed into an obligation that served everyone except me. The most valuable insight has been recognizing that genuine family relationships don't require financial transactions to maintain them. The people who've reached out with sincere apologies and efforts to rebuild our connection are the ones worth salvaging relationships with. My sister continues to paint me as the villain in her narrative, telling anyone who'll listen about my cruel abandonment of family duty. But her version of events requires ignoring 15 years of one-sided financial support and the complete absence of emotional reciprocity. The birthday party moment wasn't really about the $3,800 bill. It was about finally hearing clearly what my family